You ever have one of those days where you're just trying to sit on your porch, minding your own business, sipping a cold iced tea, when suddenly the world erupts in blue lights and a shrieking neighbor is screaming down the phone to 911 about a so-called booby trap on your own backyard fence? Yeah, that was my Tuesday. And let me tell you, I thought I'd seen it all until I moved to Maplewood Lane. So, picture this. I'm out there, watching this whole drama unfold, feeling like I accidentally bought front row seats to the worst community theater production in America. The trap, by the way, was just a state-of-the-art lock, one I designed myself. See, what my neighbor didn't know, as she demanded the cops arrest me for terrorism or whatever, was that I'm actually a certified locksmith instructor. I train police, fire departments, security teams. Heck, I even wrote the course material on half the locks in this town. But to her, I was some kind of mad scientist, and that lock was her doomsday device. Let's call her Cheryl, just to spare any actual Karens out there. Cheryl had the personality of a smoke alarm and about as much subtlety. 3 months before her infamous 911 meltdown, I'd moved in for a little piece and a yard big enough to train Max, my German Shepherd. What I didn't know was that peace was about to get obliterated by the relentless march of patent leather heels. My first week was peaceful. Met some decent folks, set up my garage workshop, and started each day walking Max before heading out to teach my advanced locksmithing class. One sunny afternoon, I decided to install a prototype smart lock on my side gate. Biometric, keypad, triple redundancy, all the bells and whistles. To the average neighbor, it looked like a regular lock. To someone like me, it was a masterpiece. Next morning, I'm out there tinkering, updating firmware, when I hear a cough. One of those calculated, pay attention to me coughs. I turn, and there's Cheryl, hiding behind sunglasses so big they could block solar flares, wielding a clipboard like a sword. Without so much as a hello, she launches into a tirade about visual obstructions and neighborhood harmony. Claims she's the HOA's security liaison, a title she just invented for herself. I calmly explained it's my property, my gate, fully legal. Heck, I double-checked with city zoning before I even started. Cheryl wasn't having any of it. She's quoting imaginary bylaws, snapping pictures, muttering about citations. I offered paperwork proving everything was legit, but she waved me off, telling me this would go straight to the board. That night, I hear strange noises at the gate. Pull up my security camera, and there she is, Cheryl, flashlight in her mouth, squeezing glue into the keyhole like she's defusing a bomb. She thought she was locking me out, but my prototype had a flush clean feature and a tiny camera under the keypad. So not only was my lock fine, but I had her antics in 4K. Did I confront her? Nope. Instead, I upgraded the lock, Wi-Fi transmitter, proximity alerts, the works. Over the next week, she tried everything. Gum, a hammer, you name it. Each time, I cleaned it up, reinforced it, and watched Cheryl's legend grow. Some neighbors called me the inventor. Others just kept their distance from her. Then came the grand 911 performance. Cheryl, phone pressed to her ear, pacing in her robe, shrieking to the dispatcher about a military-grade device and children in mortal danger. Cops showed up, 2 cars, sirens off, lights still flashing. I walked out with my coffee and certification badge, showed the officers the lock, demoed the fingerprint scan, explained the prototype. One of them recognized me from a training seminar, even cracked a smile. The other told Cheryl, "Ma'am, this isn't a threat. It's a home improvement." Cheryl went sheet white, then lobster red, then back to pale. You'd think that would be the end, right? Not for Cheryl. Now that humiliation had joined the party, she went into sabotage mode. Next weekend, a red-inked HOA emergency notice appeared under my door, summoning me to a public safety hearing. I arrived with a stack of permits, legal documents, and municipal letters, all tabbed and ready. The clubhouse was packed. Turns out Cheryl had been whipping everyone into a frenzy about my lock being some kind of surveillance beacon. Her security report was a hilarious parade of conspiracy buzzwords and technical gibberish. When she slammed a photo of my lock on the table like a murder weapon, a few people couldn't help but laugh. I waited my turn, then calmly explained the technology, showed compliance certificates, and, just for kicks, reminded them that if electromagnetic pollution was a concern, we'd better ban garage doors and baby monitors too. Got a laugh, got some nods, and Cheryl looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Twist time. Days later, I found a hidden camera pointed at my gate, tucked behind Cheryl's bushes, powered by solar and streaming who knows where. She'd planted it herself, under the guise of security liaison. A few calls confirmed her authority was entirely self-invented. When I reported the unauthorized surveillance to the HOA, Cheryl doubled down, then staged a block party with a banner screaming, "Locks divide, love unites." She handed out flyers with doctored images of my gate, warning about dangerous devices. I decided it was time for a counter-move. No, not more locks. I put up a decoy, a dummy lock loaded with sensors, programmed to send alerts when tampered with. It didn't take long. Past midnight, there's Cheryl in pajamas and flip-flops, flashlight wedged in her teeth, trying every trick. When the fake lock beeped, she jumped back so hard she left her bag behind, full of lock picks and blank HOA citations. The next week, she returned with a new accomplice, one of the neighborhood's quieter men, clearly roped in under duress. He bailed halfway through. She muttered to herself like she was starring in a one-woman war movie. Enough was enough. I compiled all the footage, logs, and fingerprints into a neat dossier and delivered it to the police, the HOA, and, just to be sure, kept a copy for myself. But before I pressed charges, I turned the narrative. I invited the whole block to a free home security workshop. Everyone, including Cheryl, was welcome. Parents asked about safe locks. Retirees got curious about sensors. Even a few teens tried their hand at basic lockpicking. I became the guy neighbors trusted for security advice, not the menace Cheryl made me out to be. Cheryl hovered across the street, arms crossed, filming with her phone, unable to find any dirt. But Cheryl wasn't done. Late one night, my camera caught a new face, Greg, a former student of mine who flunked the ethics module in my class. Turns out Cheryl had told him the gate was HOA property and needed fixing. I called him out through the camera. He froze, apologized, and left, never saw him again. But the next morning, there was a city ordinance sticker on my gate, demanding removal of the lock. It was fake, wrong font, no code number, and a traced logo. I marched the sticker, the footage, and a full report to City Hall. The city confirmed it was a forgery. Impersonating an official notice was a criminal act. That was the final straw. I handed everything to the HOA board. The next week, the board issued a notice. Anyone attempting to enforce unofficial rules would face an investigation. Cheryl's camera vanished. Her patrol stopped. And for the first time, I heard birds instead of her clacking heels. But the story didn't just fade. People started sharing their own tales. Wind chimes, lemonade stands, even kids' bike rides had all been targets for Cheryl's fake citations. At last, the community had had enough. At a packed emergency hearing, neighbors testified, one by one, about Cheryl's overreach. She defended herself, claiming it was for harmony and safety. I presented my evidence, video, logs, and that clip of her tripping over my garden light. The room erupted in laughter. The board president declared her barred from any enforcement role, and Cheryl left, silent, no drama. For the first time in months, the air felt light. I added a final, fake, emergency override puzzle box to my gate, just for laughs. Sure enough, Cheryl couldn't resist poking at it, caught on camera cursing under her breath. Then the HOA president knocked on my door, thanked me for handling things peacefully, and asked if I'd consult on their new security policy, on the condition that no self-appointed liaisons ever harass anyone again. As I walked Max past Cheryl's now quiet house, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the glue, the fake tickets, the sleepless nights, and knew some lessons need to be learned the hard way. And you know what? The lock is still there. Never harmed a soul, never started a war, just did its job quietly and with dignity. In the weeks that followed, the block felt friendlier. Neighbors smiled, kids played later, and I even started teaching a couple of local teens the basics of locksmithing. They told me they want to be engineers now. That, more than anything, made the whole ordeal worth it. Funny how a simple lock, meant to keep things safe, could end up teaching a neighborhood about boundaries, respect, and standing up to self-appointed authority. So now, every time someone walks by my gate, they don't see a fight. They see resilience, patience, and a reminder that sometimes the smallest boundaries hold back the biggest storms. But let me ask you, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you stand your ground, or cave to the noise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because honestly, I think we all know a Cheryl somewhere, and the only way to handle them is with calm, facts, and a little bit of quiet rebellion. If you enjoyed this story, or if you've got your own neighborhood saga, hit like, subscribe, and share your experience below. Let's talk about what real community means, and who really gets to hold the keys.